Oh, hello everyone. My name's David, and this is David Books and Comics. And I thought I'd present to you today my collection of martial arts paperbacks that I collected, and I bought some of which I bought back in the 1970s. And right there, you see a cover of Rick Meyer's books on the martial arts movies. And in the background, right beside that, you have Shang-Chi and Danny Rand Iron Fist from the Marvel Universe, and they'll help me with inspire us with the collection I've accumulated over the years and completed um, of martial arts paperbacks. So the first one I'm going to show you is one of the first that I bought, and it's King Kung Fu, Son of the Flying Tiger by Marshall McCall, which is a pseudonym um, for two writers. The first writer is an obscure journeyman author named Alexander Cedar, and the other writer is a an Australian author named Thaddeus Tuleja. So this is the first book, and the cover, if you look carefully there at the signature, is a painted cover by Barry Windsor Smith, and it's the Son of the Flying Tiger. So the King Kung Fu books are adventure series featuring Chung Fei King, a master of Kung Fu who was trained in this martial art by a guy named Lin Fong. Lin Fong was his teacher. So the stories feature an ongoing war between the masters of the blue circle and the evil masters of the red circle. The backstory for the series points to elements of fantasy, but the action throughout the books in these series are the selling feature of the books. So this is one of the first books that I bought in the 1970s when martial arts comic books with the um, Iron Fist and Master of Kung Fu and the Kung Fu TV series and Bruce Lee, which I'll be talking about a little later, were all the rage. The first martial arts film I saw, and I think for many it was a movie with Lo Li called The Five Fingers of Death, and then shortly thereafter, um, the Chinese Connection, which was titled, original title was Fist of Fury, and or sorry, the American release was called Fist of Fury, but the original title was The Chinese Connection. So this is the first book. It's called Son of the Flying Tiger because this lead character, Chung Fei King, was the son of a flying tiger airman from the war that Lin Fong knew and was a friend of. And Lin Fong, after his father died, raised the son. So this is the first book, Son of the Flying Tiger. That's why it's called Son of the Flying Tiger. The second book, also a painted cover by Barry Windsor Smith, is called Return of the Opium Wars by Marshall McCall. Alexander Cedar is that a writer for this book. And the next book in the series is The Rape of Sun Li Fong. And it was kind of a, yeah, as you can guess by the title and by this publisher, who was an obscure publisher. It's Freeway Press. And they generally published books that were kind of on the edge. So this is the third book in the series, The Rape of Sun Li Fong. And this is a fourth book in the series, and this is a line drawing cover, again by Barry Smith. The Kak Abdullah conspiracy. Now, Kak Nantang was the main antagonist in these books. He was the main villain, and he figures in all four of the first novels. The fifth book in the series, I believe it was probably a different author. It could have been Thaddeus Tuleja. And if you look at the cover, it was done by none other than Dick Giordano, and it's called The Red Plague in Bolivia. And this is straight action adventure. Dick Giordano cover. The next book, number 6, also by Dick Giordano, famous editor for DC Comics, editor and artist for Charlton Comics, and also for Marvel Comics. And he also helped create 2 martial arts superheroes, one for Charlton called the Judo Master, and the other one for Marvel. He inked, I believe, the first appearance of Iron Fist in Marvel Premiere number 15. The artist was Gil Kane. And he also inked and drew the second book in the Iron Fist adventures in Marvel Premiere number 16. So that's King Kung Fu, New York Necromancy. Now I'm going to show you the last book in the series. And this cover is drawn by Chris Achilleos. And if any of you are martial arts movies aficionados, you know that's a painting on the bottom here of Bruce Lee and the Han, the antagonist in the movie Enter the Dragon. So that's the 7th and the last book in the series. And now I'm going to show you the British editions or foreign editions of the, also done by Chris Achilleos. And this is The Rape of Sun Li Fong. This is the British edition of the Rape of Sun Li Fong. And here we have The Return of the Opium Wars. And if any of you know this is the artwork by this and this artist, and this cover and this cover is done by an artist, famous one named Chris Achilleos. And if any of you know the history of Bruce Lee and the movies of Jackie Chan, you know that this is actually a painting of Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan from Enter the Dragon. And I'll show you, I'll just take these books aside and I'll show you the actual picture, the scene. And it's the only appearance, the only film appearance of Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee from the movie Enter the Dragon. And you remember, if you know the history, Bruce Lee died in 1973. And this is the only actual scene of where we have these two appearing together. So there you go, Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. And this is an actual painting of the two together, captured in by this artist, Chris Achilleos. And this is the last of the British edition of the King Kung Fu series. Where's the blue circle? You have the red circle, and highlighting the themes of the kind of the backstory fantasy themes of the novels. So this is the Kakabdula Conspiracy. By Marshall McCow, and that's likely the artist, the writer is Thaddeus Tuleja. Alrighty, so now I'm going to give you and present to you the next series. This is the Black Samurai series by the African-American author Mark Olden. And this is the first book of the series. This series I collected back in the 1970s. That's when these books first released, and of course um, they were cashing in on the martial arts craze of the 70s. So number one, Black Samurai. Mark Olden uh, uh, died in 2013, and so this is number one. This is number two, called The Golden Kill. And this is a nicer cover here. This is The Killer Warrior, number three. Great stories, fast reads, all action. Now, The Black Samurai is written by Olden. He was an acclaimed mystery writer, won the Edgar Award for his mysteries. And the main character, his name is Robert Sand, the incarnation of an ancient Japanese samurai named Sandayu. This is the fourth book of the series, The Deadly Pearl. So he trained in the martial arts in Japan, and then he comes to America to wrest justice against international criminals and terrorists. He is hired by an ex-US president to work for this secret organization. And this ex-US president sounds like Lyndon Baines Johnson, actually, but doesn't say it doesn't say his name. It just describes that he's a Texan and that he has a Southern accent and that kind of stuff, but it doesn't actually say his name. And this is the fifth book in the series. This is called The Inquisition. Nice action covers. And this sixth book in the series is interesting because this cover and this story in this novel was actually made into a movie with Bruce Lee's friend from Enter the Dragon, Jim Kelly. And the movie was simply titled The Black Samurai. It was not exactly one of the classic films of the genre, but it did feature good martial arts action featuring Jim Kelly. And it was simply, the movie is called The Black Samurai. You can still find it you can still find the book in some compilations of videos on, say, blaxploitation films and so on. This is the seventh book in the series, and it's called The Sword of Allah. So here it says in the blurb, the Black Samurai rips into the air, a plot to cripple the space shot and a ruthless scheme to take over America. So this is Sword of Allah, number 7 in the series. And this is number 8 in the series, and this one is called The Katana. And this is actually one of the first novels that I read. The series are, just like the King Kung Fu series, are actually aimed at adults. It's for adults to read. So, great stories, fast reads by an excellent author. The last book in this presentation that I want to show you, and it's a really well-written novel, is this one. This is a novel by, and I actually have two copies. Uh, Two copies. This is my fine copy of The Dragon's Fists by Jim Dennis. Now, Jim Dennis, Richard Dragon, this is actually the first appearance of the character, the DC character Richard Dragon from Dragon's Fists. And Richard Dragon, of course, had his own comic book series and is part of the DC Universe stories. You can see him in both animated films from the DC Universe and in the comic books. Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter, had his own comic book series. And I believe one of the major characters in Batman universe, Lady Shiva, appears in number 5, copy of number 5 of Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter, a series of comic books that I have in my comic book pile. The cover here is also done by Chris Akaleos, and this is the Signet book, which is a British publisher, I believe. And Jim Dennis is none other than Denny O'Neil. And Denny O'Neil is the writer of the many of the Batman and Green Lantern comic books. A seminal creator all on his own. So this is actually the first appearance of Richard Dragon in any form. Was not in the comic books, but in this novel, Dragon's Fists by Jim Dennis. And this scene, if any of you know anything about the martial arts films, it's a scene of Bruce Lee in the movie Fists of Fury, the American title, Fists of Fury. The original Chinese title, as it was originally released, was called The Chinese Connection. Okay, so this is my presentation of the comic book paperbacks that the martial arts paperbacks that I have. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, just hit like and subscribe, and I'll show you more of my collection. Okay, thanks. Bye.